Welcome to our deep dive into Blindsight by Peter Watts. It's the sci-fi novel that throws us right into the deep end with this, crew of augmented humans on a mission to investigate this mysterious alien artifact. But, trust me, this is not your typical alien encounter story. Blindsight really challenges everything we think we know about consciousness, perception, and what it means to be intelligent.
Yeah. What's so captivating about this book is how it flips the script on like first contact narratives. Instead of focusing on the aliens themselves, Watts explores the potential limitations of our own understanding. Like it asks whether we as humans are even equipped to recognize or comprehend a truly alien intelligence.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. The story centers around the crew of the Theseus. It's the ship designed for interstellar travel, and the crew is anything but ordinary. It's a mix of humans and AI, each with unique abilities and modifications that make them both brilliant and, well, kind of unsettling.
Right. And this diverse crew isn't just there for like dramatic effect. It's a deliberate choice by Watts to explore how humanity's response to the unknown might be fragmented, shaped by different perspectives and abilities rather than a unified front.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got Siri Keaton, our protagonist, who's a synthesist. He can process massive amounts of data, see patterns everywhere, but he struggles with, basic human interaction. Like he's traded emotional intelligence for raw processing power.
Right. And this raises the question, what are the trade-offs of such hyper-specialization? Can you be so focused on efficiency and data analysis that you lose sight of the bigger picture, the human element?
And then there's the Gang of Four, essentially one person, Susan James, with her consciousness partitioned into four distinct personas, each an expert in their field. It's a fascinating exploration of the potential and perhaps the dangers of pushing the boundaries of human cognition.
Exactly. Imagine the efficiency, the ability to multitask and problem solve on a whole new level.
Yeah.
But what happens to your sense of self, your individual identity when your mind is divided like that?
Right. And we can't forget Juka Sarasti, the vampire, brought back from extinction for his tactical brilliance. Sarasti represents a completely different kind of intelligence, one that predates humanity and operates on a set of principles that are both fascinating and terrifying.
And Sarasti embodies a key theme in Blindsight,
Hmm.
the potential conflict between sentience and efficiency. He sees humans as flightless birds, burdened by consciousness and emotions. While he represents a more streamlined predatory form of intelligence, it's a chilling perspective that makes you question the evolutionary advantages of being self-aware.
So we have this incredibly complex and diverse crew heading towards an alien artifact known as Rorschach. This thing is orbiting a gas giant way out beyond Neptune. And from the very beginning, it's clear that Rorschach is not just some passive object. It actively avoids detection and seems to mess with human perception, like it's trying to hide in plain sight. And that's before the crew even gets close to it.
And the way Watts describes Rorschach plays on our inherent biases. Are we truly seeing it as it is, or are we projecting our own expectations and fears onto this alien object? It raises fundamental questions about how we perceive reality, especially when faced with something utterly foreign to our experience.
And their first encounter is where things get really interesting. The ship encounters a blind spot that seems to track them, suggesting that Rorschach is aware of their presence, and then they're hit by a barrage of rocks. It seems almost primitive for something capable of interstellar travel,
Yeah.
which immediately throws the crew off balance.
Right. This deliberate subversion of expectations is brilliant. Watts forces us to confront our assumptions about advanced technology and intelligence. What appears crude or simplistic might be something we simply don't have the framework to understand.
And then just when you think it can't get any weirder, Rorschach starts communicating using modulated laser light. It can understand and manipulate human language, but its motives remain completely unclear. It's a masterclass in building suspense and a sense of creeping unease.
And this communication, or perhaps we should call it an attempt at communication, is one of the most unsettling aspects of the book. It raises crucial questions about the nature of alien contact. If an alien intelligence is so different from us, would we even recognize its attempts to communicate? Or would we misinterpret it entirely?
Right. Imagine trying to have a conversation with a being whose Thought processes are so alien that our very concepts of language and meaning break down. And this is before they even encounter the scramblers, the truly bizarre life forms they discover within Rorschach.
Ah, yes, the scramblers. These creatures are the epitome of Watt's talent for creating alien life that is both biologically fascinating and philosophically challenging. They are so different from anything. We know that even classifying them as life becomes debatable.
Yeah. These scramblers are like walking, breathing camouflage screens
Oh.
with eye spots all over their bodies and the ability to instantly change their coloration to blend into any environment. They're masters of adaptation, but their intelligence or lack thereof becomes a central point of debate for the crew.
And the scramblers' ability to adapt their camouflage on the fly seems to suggest some level of problem solving. But is it truly intelligence as we understand it, or is it something else, a complex biological process that mimics intelligence without conscious awareness?
Right, exactly. One of the crew, Cunningham, is utterly baffled by them. He sees them as a collection of biological processes that somehow manage to achieve complex behavior without the overhead of consciousness. He even calls consciousness a hack, something that hinders efficiency and makes us vulnerable. It's a bleak view, but it starts to make a disturbing amount of sense as the story unfolds.
And Cunningham's frustration highlights a key theme, the potential conflict between sentience and efficiency. What if consciousness as we experience it is not the pinnacle of evolution, but a costly evolutionary hack that ultimately makes us less adaptable than these non-sentient beings?
Okay, so we have this incredibly diverse crew, a mysterious alien artifact that seems to be toying with them, and now these bizarre, possibly unintelligent, but incredibly adaptable creatures. It's clear that the crew's assumptions about first contact are about to be completely shattered. But before we dive into that, let's take a closer look at the concept of blindsight itself, because it's central to understanding the deeper layers of this story.
Watts uses the term blindsight on multiple levels. It refers to a neurological condition where people can react to visual stimuli despite being consciously blind. But it also becomes a metaphor for the crew's inability to truly see and understand what they are facing, even with all the data in front of them.
Yeah, there's so many layers to it. We have Spindle, the biologist who actually becomes blind within Rorschach but can still react to his surroundings. Then we have the crew who are constantly analyzing the scramblers but still can't grasp their true nature. They're looking, but they're not truly seeing.
They are blinded by their own assumptions about intelligence and sentience. They're looking for evidence of consciousness in all the wrong places, failing to recognize that true alien intelligence might be something so different from our own that it defies our very definitions.
And then there's Siri, who's so focused on data analysis that he's blind to his own manipulations of others. It's like he's wired for efficiency, but at the expense of genuine human connection.
And this speaks to the potential dangers of hyper-specialized intelligence. Can you be so good at processing information and achieving goals that you lose sight of ethical considerations, the impact of your actions on others?
So what we have here is a recipe for disaster. We have a crew with extraordinary abilities, but hampered by their own limitations and biases. We have an alien artifact that seems to be toying with them, challenging their perceptions and understanding. And we have these scramblers, creatures that defy classification, blurring the lines between life and non-life, intelligence and instinct. What could possibly go wrong?
That's where the real journey begins. As the crew delves deeper into Rorschach, they will confront not only the mysteries of this alien entity, but also the limitations of their own humanity. And what they discover will challenge everything they thought they knew about themselves, about intelligence, and about the nature of life itself. So welcome back to our deep dive into Peter Watts' Blindsight. You know, when we left off, the crew of the Theseus was facing a reality that defied their expectations, a reality where their own perceptions might be their greatest obstacle to understanding the truly alien.
Right. They went in expecting to encounter, an advanced alien civilization, maybe even a chance for meaningful dialogue. Instead, they're confronted with an entity that seems to operate on principles so foreign that it challenges their very definition of intelligence. And then there are the scramblers, these bizarre creatures that blur the line between life and non-life, forcing them to confront the limitations of their own understanding.
And what's fascinating is how the crew's reactions to the scramblers reveal their own biases and assumptions. They struggle to categorize these creatures to fit them into their existing uh, frameworks of intelligence and sentience. And this struggle exposes the inherent human-centric nature of those frameworks.
Yeah, you're right. It's like they're trying to force a square peg into a round hole. They're looking for signs of a consciousness, of intentionality. But what if those concepts simply don't apply to the scramblers? What if their behavior, their ability to adapt and problem solve arises from a completely different set of principles?
Exactly. And this is where Cunningham, the biologist, becomes such a compelling character. He's tasked with studying the scramblers, but their very existence seems to offend his scientific sensibilities. He sees them as a grotesque mockery of life, a collection of biological processes that somehow manage to achieve complex behavior without the overhead of consciousness.
He even goes so far as to call consciousness a hack, something that hinders efficiency and ultimately makes us vulnerable. It's a bleak perspective. But the more we learn about the scramblers, the more his arguments start to feel uncomfortably plausible.
Remember that quote from Cunningham, "Sentience is a phase, it passes." That line really gets to the heart of what Watts is exploring in this book. What if sentience as we experience it is not the end goal of evolution, but just a temporary stage, a stepping stone to something else, something that we, with our limited human perspective, can't even fathom.
Right. It's a mind-blowing concept, and it's made even more unsettling by the presence of Sarasti, the vampire. He represents a form of intelligence that predates humanity, a predator with heightened senses and an ability to see patterns that humans miss. He views humans as weak, inefficient, burdened by our emotions and our self-awareness.
And Saresti's perspective is crucial because it challenges the anthropocentric view of intelligence. He doesn't see consciousness as a pinnacle of evolution, but as a limitation, a vulnerability. He embodies a more streamlined, predatory form of intelligence, one that's arguably more efficient, more adaptable, and perhaps ultimately more successful in a universe that doesn't care about our feelings or our self-perceived importance.
And what's really disturbing is that within the context of the story, he might be right. The scramblers, with their lack of consciousness, their adaptability, and their resilience, seem to support his view. It's like Watts is forcing us to confront the possibility that our own sentience, the very thing that we consider to be our defining characteristic, might actually be holding us back.
And as the crew delves deeper into Rorschach, the tension between these different perspectives on intelligence becomes increasingly palpable. Sarasti, with his cryptic pronouncements and manipulative tactics, clashes with the more human members of the crew, particularly Bates, the military officer.
Right. Bates represents a more traditional hierarchical approach to problem solving. She's all about following orders, maintaining control, protecting her team. But her methods, her reliance on established protocols and military discipline seem increasingly inadequate in the face of an entity that defies human comprehension.
And this conflict between Sarasti and Bates isn't just about personality differences. It's a clash of ideologies, a reflection of the broader struggle to understand the unknown. Bates clings to the familiar, to the structures that provide a sense of order and control, while Sarasti embraces the chaos, operating on a level of intuition and strategic thinking that is simply beyond human grasp.
And caught in the middle of all this is Siri Keaton, our synthesist protagonist. He's struggling to process the overwhelming influx of information, trying to make sense of the scramblers, to decipher Serasti's motivations, and to cope with his own growing sense of isolation.
And Siri's role as the observer is fascinating because he represents both the potential and the limitations of a purely analytical approach to understanding the world. He can see patterns that others miss. He can process vast amounts of data, but he struggles to connect with people on an emotional level. He's like a living embodiment of the Blindsight phenomenon,
Yeah.
able to react to stimuli without fully comprehending their meaning.
Yeah, he's constantly analyzing, observing, trying to find the underlying logic and everything. But he misses the nuances, the emotional undercurrents that drive human behavior. And this disconnect, this inability to truly understand the people around him becomes increasingly problematic as the situation on board Theseus spirals out of control.
Remember that scene where Siri attempts to analyze the Gang of Four to understand their motivations and interactions? He approaches them as if they were a complex equation to be solved, but his efforts are met with frustration and confusion. He can't grasp the fluidity of their shared consciousness, the emotional bonds that connect them.
Yeah, it's like he's missing a crucial piece of the puzzle, something that can't be captured in data points and algorithms.
Yeah.
And this blindness extends to his interactions with Sarasti. He tries to understand the vampire's motivations, his strategic thinking, but he's constantly outmaneuvered, manipulated by a being who operates on a level that Siri can't even comprehend.
And as the mission progresses, the lines between observation and manipulation become increasingly blurred.
Yeah.
Sears attempts to understand the scramblers to decipher their behavior take a darker edge as he becomes more and more involved in the crew's attempts to control and contain them.
Right. It starts with simple observation, data collection, but it gradually escalates into experimentation, manipulation, even a kind of exploitation. And Siri, despite his initial reluctance, finds himself drawn into this dynamic, complicit in actions that he might not fully condone.
And this ethical dilemma lies at the heart of Blindsight. It's a story about the dangers of knowledge, the potential for abuse, and the responsibility that comes with understanding. It asks us to consider the limits of our own perception, the assumptions we make about intelligence, and the consequences of encountering a mind that operates on principles we may never fully grasp.
When we left off, the crew, the Theseus, was in a really precarious situation. As they journey deeper into the mysteries of Rorschach, not only are they grappling with an alien intelligence they can't comprehend, but their own internal tensions are reaching a boiling point. They're starting to realize that the biggest threat might not be the alien entity itself, but their own limited understanding, their own human biases.
Yeah, and let's not forget the scramblers. You know, as the crew delves deeper into Rorschach, they uncover more about these creatures, and what they find isn't just strange; it's practically impossible according to human biology. They lack key metabolic pathways, which, by all accounts, means they shouldn't be able to survive.
Right. It's like discovering a creature that breathes underwater without gills or flies without wings. It throws everything they thought they knew about biology out the window.
And this discovery adds another layer to the mystery of Rorschach. What is its purpose? Is it some kind of alien laboratory, a testing ground for bizarre life forms? Or is there something even more profound at play, something that redefines our understanding of life itself?
And while they're trying to wrap their heads around all of this, Rusty, ever the pragmatist decides to run an experiment on the scramblers. He exposes them to oxygen, which is basically like trying to drown a fish.
Right, and this act is more than just scientific curiosity. It reveals a ruthlessness in Sarasti, a willingness to sacrifice these creatures, to potentially kill them in the pursuit of knowledge. He doesn't see them as sentient beings worthy of consideration, but as tools, as data points.
And it's this act that triggers a turning point in the story. Siri, who's been trying to remain detached, to stay above the fray, becomes the target of Serasti's aggression. It's a sudden, brutal attack that exposes the fragility of Ciri's carefully constructed objectivity.
Right. This confrontation shatters the illusion of control, the belief that Ciri can simply observe and analyze without being affected by the events unfolding around him. It forces him to confront his own passivity, his reluctance to fully engage with the increasingly dangerous situation.
Yeah, he's always been the observer, but now he's caught in the crosshairs, injured and terrified. He's forced to confront the reality that his observations, his reports have real-world consequences that he can no longer ignore.
And as the situation spirals further out of control, Rorschach itself seems to react. There's a sense of growing tension, a feeling that the structure is aware of the conflict on board the ship, and it's not pleased. Right. And then all hell breaks loose. Rorschach detaches itself from the gas giant and hurtles through space. Theseus is caught in the chaos. Systems are failing. The crew is scattered, and they're fighting for their lives.
And this is the climax of the story, the moment where all the tension, all the philosophical questions, all the interpersonal conflicts converge in a chaotic, terrifying confrontation.
Yeah, it's a desperate fight for survival against an enemy they barely understand. The ship is damaged, Cerasti is down, and it's up to Bates, the military officer, to take command and try to get them out of there alive.
But the situation is dire. Rorschach has been breached. Something has gotten on board Theseus, and the crew is facing an enemy that is both invisible and deadly. And in the midst of this chaos, Ciri is faced with a choice: stay and fight alongside the remaining crew, or escape with Cerasti on a shuttle.
And his decision is a poignant reflection of his character. He chooses to observe, to document, to escape the carnage rather than participate in it. He remains the detached observer, even as humanity faces its possible extinction.
Yeah. As he flees, leaving the rest of the crew behind, he's left with a haunting question. What does it mean to witness the end of humanity, not as a participant, but as an observer?
And that's the chilling final note of Blindsight. Leaves you with more questions than answers, forcing you to confront the limits of human understanding and the terrifying possibilities of a universe that operates on principles we may never fully grasp.
So, what does it all mean for us? If a truly alien intelligence exists, would we even recognize it, or would we be so blinded by our own assumptions, our own limited perception, that we'd mistake it for something else, something less than intelligent, missing the true threat?
Blindsight challenges us to consider that the greatest threat to humanity might not be something we can fight with weapons, but something we might not even see coming because it exists outside our framework of understanding.
Well, that's all for this deep dive into the unsettling depths of Blindsight. We hope you found it illuminating, even if it left you with a few existential chills. Until next time, keep exploring, but be careful what you look for, because you might not like what you find.